Squeals, rattles, bangs. These are not normal garage door sounds. This is your door crying out for help. Welcome to the Garage Authority Podcast, powered by A1. I'm your host, Jonithan Phillips, and today we have a very special guest, the one and only Garrett Bonacci. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited to have you on today because we're talking about how to silence noisy garage doors for the homeowner.
Absolutely.
And the reason I wanted to bring you on is because if you don't know at home, Garrett is a door expert. So he helps people whenever they're at that fork in the road on, do I need to repair this door or is it really not worth the cost? So he sees all the symptoms that we're going to discuss today. And this is the guy. This is the guy that's going to tell you how to maintain the door you have, or maybe it's just not worth it. So my first question for you is, what's the most common causes for noisy doors whenever you're talking to clients and explaining why they make these sounds?
Right. So obviously there's a ton of different reasons, but most common would be just coming down to like your metal on metal. So like your bearings, your hinges, obviously like all your pivot points. So if you're getting a lot of like the screeching noises, I mean, that can come down to your rollers as well. You know, as a technician back in the day, I'd get called out and there'd be, you know, a noisy door, but after actually diagnosing it and breaking everything down, there would be several different reasons for it to be noisy, which can come down to the motor as well. Some of your older Genie, you know, screw drive, I kind of nickname those like the tank motors because they'll pull anything, but boy, when you're operating them, your whole neighborhood, you know, is hearing it. So there's a lot of different aspects to it being noisy, but most common are just going to be all your metal on metal. So again, your hinges, bearings, that type of stuff.
Rollers, bearings. Sometimes the cable sounds too on the drum, and like those old motors. Now, whenever people hear those things, they're like, hey, we're just going to put some WD-40 on it.
Sure, yeah,
right?
Don't use that.
Don't use that. Don't use that.
Yeah.
It is a displacement, and it works symptomatically for about 2 weeks, and then it makes it worse because it gets a bunch of sand, dust, and grime attracting to it.
All the debris.
So lubrication, which one would you say
I would
is
go
the
with
best?
the silicone for sure.
Yeah, silicone base, white lithium, something like that.
And you'll know too, like, you know, walking around neighborhoods or just driving through, you'll see the ones that maybe some folks did themselves and went a little too heavy on it. Ooh. And you'll see it bleeding through on the other side of the door, which naturally is going to, you know, destroy the finish over time, especially in your warmer, you know, hotter clients that are facing the sun constantly. So that's why you call the professionals.
Yes, I would say if any can of lubricant comes with a straw, use the straw.
It's there for a reason.
A little goes a long way.
Because there's little dab will do you.
There's nothing worse than when, you know, people are trying to make a door last as long as they can, right?
Right.
And then that paint's oxidized on the front.
100%.
It's got the you know, as soon as that lubrication, because they're just like
hammering it.
Like they're doing pest control in New York. They're just, and then you see it bleed on the outside and it gets mixed in with all that oxidized paint. And then that's
not a good look. Then your HOA is usually calling you going, hey, you got to either repaint the door or figure this out because this doesn't look like anyone else's.
And you can't get it off now. It's really, it's like
it's
baked
done.
into
It's
it.
done.
It's a permanent stain.
It's like oil stains in clothes. It's done.
So there's little noises that happen over time, right? Naturally, hinges, if we don't lubricate them, bearings, these things. What type of noises signal an urgent problem? Yeah,
that's a big one. The catastrophic failures, from what I've seen in the past, really come from like if you're hearing popping or binding noises. The best way I could articulate that is each door, when they stack on top of one another at the section, they have what's called a tongue and groove. So that's the spinal cord of the door to make it easy. So if that's out of alignment, you're going to have binding and then eventually you're going to have some pressure points elsewhere in the door because it has to compensate, right? So it's like when we pull our backs out as people, a couple of days goes by and your right knee starts hurting because you're starting to compensate and walk a little different because you're back. So if you're hearing that popping, there's a good chance that right around the corner, again, I can't predict the future, but I would say real soon you could have a potential out of track door comes crashing down because that pop happens so bad that it's going to pull that roller out of the track and cause a significant issue. So that's the big one.
It's very scary and violent.
It is. When it happens, it sounds like a grenade goes off.
And it's not It's very. I've had it a couple times where I've gone there and a client happened to be in the garage and maybe the corner of a door got their shoulder.
Right.
I had one old man took it like a champ. I mean, he got hit in the head and he got 6 stitches. But he was still walking around. He was gardening at the front. Just built different back then.
Yeah, different
just
generation.
Old and hardened.
Yep.
But the type of violence that does to a top of a car, or when panels go through a wall and you have to get the framing, whenever. Hey, a little bit of preventative maintenance.
It goes a long way.
We could have avoided all of this.
Not to sound morbid, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's the largest moving mechanism on your home, and it can turn into a modern-day guillotine real quick.
Yeah, it's super scary.
If it comes down, it's dangerous.
Now, more specifically, homeowners are focusing on their track and rollers.
Absolutely.
Right? What are some things, and I think you know where I'm going with this, that people usually put in their tracks to kind of help with that noise that they shouldn't?
Yes. So you'll see a lot of times people overload it with any sort of grease.
Disgusting.
And, you might think it's going to help things quiet down, but all you're doing, and like you mentioned earlier, using the wrong lubrication, you're now attracting debris and dirt and all sorts of things that inherently are only going to hurt the door's functionality and flow as it goes up and down.
Yeah, you got to think like garages are dirty.
Right.
Okay, they can be. There are those perfect garages to where you could basically eat off the floor. I love working in them because there's all this free space.
Yep.
But whenever people put all that grease in the bottom of the door sets in the sand, the dirt, the debris, and then you have all that grease lined up in the track and it just carries all of it all the way through the track and you're just working it in. And now basically you've made... the way I like to explain it is, have you ever seen those rock polishers?
Rock polishers.
A rock polisher. I got one in a science kit as a kid. So you put a little bit of water into it, right? And then it just rotates with a couple abrasive rocks, and it makes them really smooth over time.
Interesting.
You basically, when you put that grease in there and it gets all those little rocks, you've made a rock polisher for your tracks and rollers.
I can see that.
It's just beating them down to death. And
absolutely.
It's not the cool rock polisher to where now we got a cool, looks like a crystal.
100%.
No, now your rollers are broken down at different sizes and they're going through the track and rattling around, breaking down the bearings. And then people always talk about rollers like it's like riding on an e-brake.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I was about to say driving your car with your brakes engaged slightly.
And some people don't pay attention to that or care because it goes up and down. When the roller compromises... when it's the only thing that holds the door up in the air above your head, I just find absolutely baffling that people don't want to maintain and take care of it.
And it puts stress on everything else. Your motors now having to operate, harder to compensate. The springs are having to work harder. So, here you are thinking that you're doing good for your door, but in the end, you're only hurting it, and that's just because of you don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not mad at anyone for trying to take care of their home. That's why we do this.
Exactly. That's why we're here.
Now, is there a time when you think of funny noises?
Okay.
Like a story while you were out in the field to where you're just like, no way.
Ooh, good question. Funny noises. I've had some interesting experiences. As far as like funny noises, I don't have any that I can just pinpoint off the top of my head, but I did have a client one time where the door was, making quite a bit of noise. We ended up doing the rollers and kind of just did like a kind of a full rebuild, if you will, because the door was good. It was a steel back from, let's say 2013, 14, but everything else was pretty worn down. And he, at that point, had been living with it for so long that it was just a normality. And then when he came out after we had done the repairs, just his expression, and he'd said some foul language, but it was a very rewarding experience for me just to see his reaction and see, wow, okay, holy smokes, I've been living with it that way for how long now? I'm not going to do that ever again. If I ever hear that thing make another noise, you're coming back out and we're going to take care of it. So
whenever you do silence the door, I kind of compare it to like when someone goes to the chiropractor the first time and they finally get lined out and they didn't I didn't know I was in this much pain. I just been going through it the entire time.
All right. Now it makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of the similar reaction that I had got from it. It was just his pure bliss and enjoyment, and again, couple excited foul words made it worthwhile.
Yeah. And I think someone's gotten mad at me for making the door too quiet once.
Right. Now you can't sneak in and out.
Yes, that is exactly what happened. We did basically just tanked the door, right? Didn't want to get a new door.
Right.
He liked his door. Okay, we'll do that. New rollers on it, bearings, a couple struts to add some weight in some certain areas so it didn't pop through the track. And finally got the belt drive on there. It was the old 8550s, so the LiftMaster, and they're red, and they got lights on either side. And he was gone. Talked to him over the phone, did it. His family was home. He called me the next day, and he's like, we got to do something about this. And I was like, what? He's like, my son, took our car last night, and we didn't hear anything, and it's too quiet. And I was like, okay. And this is when my cue was like,
we have a solution.
We have a solution. So then I had to walk him through on his phone, like, you're going to get a notification for this every single time.
Yep, you're going to know. Yep.
But yeah, that was very weird to get a phone call. My door's too quiet. What'd you do?
Did too good of a job.
You did too good.
Yeah.
So we've gone over causes, lubrication, kind of DIY fixes that people do, and funny stories about noisy doors. Is there anything encompassing this that you feel like we didn't cover that would be good for the audience to know?
Yeah, no, I would just say, I mean, if garage doors, isn't something you're constantly working on, before I got into the industry, it was something I took for granted, to be honest with you. I hit the button, it went up and down. As a kid, when motors weren't as prevalent, I'd remember turning that T-handle and opening it for my dad, pull the car in. So anytime you're hearing something that you didn't hear before, I would say reach out, to the trained professionals to come take a look at it, just because, it could be something simple, and also could be something detrimental to you and your family's safety. But having a trained professional look at it to ensure that you and your family are safe, I think is the most important takeaway.
Yeah, man. Even if you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money for someone just to look at it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And at least tell you what's going on. Then that way you have options moving forward and how you want to deal with it.
Yeah, man. Garrett, dude, thank you so much for coming on. I know
thank you for having
guy.
me, John.
And
Absolutely.
thank you for coming to talk to the students today.
Absolutely.
I'm really
I look forward to that
excited
here shortly. That'll be a good time.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.